He didn't know it yet, but the people he trusted most were already planning his death. 3 years. 3 years of clearing S-rank gates alone while his guildmates waited safely behind the barrier line. 3 years of carrying a guild that wore his name like a badge but treated him like a tool. And in exactly 40 minutes, they were going to leave him inside a collapsing dungeon and call it an accident. This is the story of Kaelan Voss, the strongest hunter no one ever thanked. And this is the story of what happens when a man who gave everything finally gets something back. Let's start from the beginning. 10 years ago, the gates opened. Rifts tore across the sky in every major city on Earth, and monsters poured through them like the world itself was being punished for something. Governments fell into chaos, militaries were useless. The only things standing between humanity and extinction were the awakened. Ordinary people who had somehow gained the power to fight back. Kaelan was 17 when he awakened. No grand ceremony, no glowing light. He was hiding in a subway station when a bronze-rank gate opened 3 blocks from his apartment, and the only thing he remembers is picking up a rebar pipe and refusing to die quietly. He survived. Barely. And when the association tested him afterward, the numbers on the screen made the examiner go pale. Talent rank, S, projected ceiling, unknown. It should have been the beginning of an easy life. Fame, money, guilds fighting over him. And for a little while, it was. He joined the Ashwind Guild at 19, one of the top 5 guilds in the country, led by a man named Director Reyes Calloway, a former S-rank hunter turned executive who talked about family and loyalty in every recruitment speech. Kaelan believed every word of it. He had no real family left after the Gates took his parents in the first wave. Ashwind was supposed to be what replaced that. For the first year, it felt real. He trained beside hunters who called him brother. He shared meals with a healer named Mira Sun, who patched him up after every raid and made him promise not to be reckless, a promise he never once kept. He looked up to a mid-rank hunter named Doran Vale, who had been at Ashwind since the beginning and treated Kaelan like a little brother worth protecting. But guilds don't run on loyalty, they run on results. And once the association started ranking guilds by gate clears, Ashwind's leadership discovered something extremely convenient. Kaelan alone could clear gates that used to require 12 people. So they let him. At first, it was just efficiency. Then it became policy. Then it became expectation. By his second year, Kaelan wasn't fighting alongside his guild anymore. He was fighting for them, while the rest of the raid team stood behind the safety barrier collecting hazard pay for showing up. Little did he know, every S-rank clear he racked up wasn't building the guild's respect for him. It was building their dependency. And dependency, when it isn't paid for, eventually turns into resentment. The first crack came during the Ashen Cathedral raid. It was supposed to be a routine A-rank gate. Instead, the rift misclassified, and what should have been a manageable boss fight turned into an S-rank abomination, a bone construct 3 stories tall that the association would later classify as a false gate anomaly. Kaelan fought it for 41 minutes with a shattered arm and no backup because the raid captain, a man named Ferris Adkins, made the call to pull the support team out rather than risk guild casualties. Kaelan won. Of course he won. He always won. But when he limped out of that gate holding his own dislocated shoulder back into its socket, nobody from leadership asked if he was alright. Director Calloway asked if the loot drop included a rare-grade core. It did. Kaelan handed it over without a word. And that night, alone in his apartment, he laughed at himself for expecting anything else. He should have left then. Everyone watching this story already knows that. But loyalty is a strange thing when it's the only family you have left, and Kaelan kept telling himself that maybe, eventually, they'd see what he was actually worth. In the months that followed, the pattern only got worse. Ashwind started accepting contracts specifically because they knew Kaelan could clear them solo. High-paying gates that other guilds turned down for being too dangerous to send a full team into. Contracts that only made financial sense if one person did the work of 12 and the guild kept the difference. The other hunters noticed. Some of them felt guilty about it. Most of them simply got used to it, the way people get used to anything that benefits them as long as someone else is the one paying the cost. Mira was the only one who ever said anything out loud. She cornered Director Calloway after a briefing once, arguing that sending Kaelan in without proper backup was going to get him killed eventually, and that the guild owed him better than being treated like a renewable resource. Calloway smiled, thanked her for her concern, and changed nothing. Kaelan never found out about that conversation until much later, and when he finally did, it would matter more than he could have imagined at the time. He kept clearing gates, he kept coming home with fewer answers than bruises, and every single night he told himself the same lie that kept him standing in that guild hall morning after morning, that family forgives, that family remembers what you sacrificed for them, that eventually the debt gets paid back, They saw exactly what he was worth. That was the problem. Because 2 months later, in a closed-door executive meeting Kaelan was never meant to hear about, Director Calloway said something that would end up sealing his own fate. Voss is a liability now. He knows too much about how much of this guild's success is really just him. If word gets out that Ashwin's top 5 ranking is one hunter carrying 11, our contracts collapse. We need him gone, but gone in a way that looks like the gates took him, not us. Doran Vale, the man Kaelan had trusted like a brother, was in that room, and Doran Vale said nothing. The plan was almost elegant in how cruel it was. Ashwind accepted a contract to clear a newly discovered gate rumored to house a dungeon break class threat. A gate so unstable that even the association recommended a 20-person team with full extraction support. Ashwind sent 6, and when the raid captain gave the order to retreat at the first sign of instability, they made sure Kaelan was still inside the collapsing chamber when the barrier sealed behind them. Not evacuated, not warned. Sealed inside on purpose while the rest of his own guild walked out the exit and reported him as lost to gate collapse, cause unknown.